trust. Today I'm going to read a passage from Psalm 91. You that live in the shelter of the Most High and lodge under the shadow of the Almighty, who say, the Lord is my safe retreat, my God, the fastness in which I trust. He himself will snatch you away from fowler's snare or raging tempest. He will cover you with his pinions, and you shall find safety beneath his wings. You shall not fear the hunter's trap by night, or the arrow that flies by day, the pestilence that stalks in the darkness, or the plague raging at noonday. 1,000 may fall at your side, 10,000 close at hand, but you it shall not touch. His truth will be your shield and your rampart. With your eyes, oh, you shall see all this. You shall watch the punishment of the wicked. For you, the Lord is a safe retreat. You have made the Most High your refuge. No disaster shall befall you. No calamity shall come upon your home. For he has charged his angels to guard you wherever you go. In this episode, or in this topic, we are going to readdress the spirit of Jezebel. In the previous video, something that I possibly was trying to share with you, but due to the circumstances and trying to also share with you information that I was trying to share with regards to the Jezebel spirit, is I am currently included in this. My personal circumstance is I'm undergoing spiritual warfare, a necessary battle, it seems, because when you have this is something that I have found out, the occurrences of going through in my past, going through challenging times. I used to ask myself possibly that, why do things happen? But as I have come into as I've stepped into my calling and stepped into the path, part of the journey is going through challenges and obstacles and people ahead trying to stop you from moving ahead. This involves spiritual warfare, and the attacks, they happen through what you might call the hosts of the Jezebel, the person who's under the control, or the person who's under the influence of the spirit. And on that day that I made the video, or the day before, I had experienced something that doesn't doesn't happen frequently. This type of spiritual warfare, it's like they've moved from the spirit, and now they are beginning to approach in the physical. Because what they have found is what is what they do in the spirit. They try to facilitate and amplify their effects by approaching ones in you know, in your everyday life. You know, you find people who may try to provoke you, for instance. So on that, on the day that I made the video, I had experienced, you know, provocation. And when this happens, the important thing is to recognize what has happened. Once you recognize the effects, now it's important for you to flush out the spirit. Now, before I move ahead with this video, I just wanted to reiterate possibly some points that were addressed in the previous video. One of the ways the spirit of Jezebel, it attaches itself on people who are... The main objective of the Jezebel spirit is to stop and prevent people who have a calling or anointing, you could say, from God. It tries to stop people coming into their awareness. So it does this by trying to attach onto the person. So then the spirit can control the person from the spirit can control the person by deterring them off their path, sending them into behaviors that are leading them astray. The secondary thing, the spirit attaches itself around people that are closest to the person. This is a secondary strategy. So the people around the person could be influenced by this spirit, and then the objective is to get the spirit and those people to now influence the person to stop them from moving into what they're supposed to do. So, and this is very subtle. So, you know, you ever ask yourself that you meet people or have people around you, and they're very subtle. It's very subtle. Like I explained in the previous video, is that sometimes you gain a clearer perspective of your life when you take a step back, which is the reason why having your retreat from the everyday things is very important, because you have a chance to have an introspect of your life and that's when you receive the most, you receive the messages, or you receive the guidance. Sometimes when you're alone, the Jezebel spirit, it likes to cause things to be chaotic, and you're always it likes to, it wants you to not be so relaxed and free and able to think and plan your way around things. One of the other things the Jezebel spirit likes to do is, when the spirit is around you in the beginning and your person could be unaware, the spirit is, it's the main spirit, but underneath the spirit of Jezebel, it also has other personalities. It's like a multiple, it has multiple personality traits. So a trait that is possibly one of the face of the Jezebel spirit before it begins to manifest is something you call, it likes to make they call it the mocking spirit. So an example of this would be, before they hit you with a scathing an attack, they make light of the situation, they make light of things, they appear to be harmless, maybe a joking person, full of, a mischief kind of thing, but that is only a cover-up of the cunning and the evil that actually is behind the spirit. This is usually the everyday uniform of the spirit. You think light of it. You don't realize how malevolent the spirit actually is. So another way, or something else that has also come to my attention, is the capacity of this spirit. How it, in modern days, is related to the narcissistic disorder in modern times, and one of the traits is how it has a lack of true empathy. It has it really has no, it shows no emotions for, somebody who's narcissistic is likely to say something like, well, they don't care what happens to a person, and they may say it in using the mocking spirit way, because they haven't, the Jezebel spirit is not, it's the spirit controlling the other spirits, and those other spirits are usually the ones that you might see when the mask slips slightly on the everyday basis. So the spirit might say things like, they have a tendency to show a coldness and a lack of empathy for everyday things. And in the beginning, you might think, this person they have a lack of care for people outside of themselves. But because it usually happens in such a subtle, non, I want to say hypothetical, they might use it as a hypothetical, but it's actually the basis of who they actually are. Because you will remember what they said when they show their true colours. You would remember that they actually said they do not care about people, or they have a lack of connection to people. So that's why this spirit is able to operate the way it does. You know, it, especially once the spirit manifests, something which has come to my attention also, the spirit itself over time, it begins to build a relationship with the infected host. It begins to build a relationship. So the people who are under the influence, their purpose now begins to become very single-mindedly driven, for them to oppose people who have a calling. They become very single-minded, very determined, almost very determined to stick around and be in your path. So, which is the reason why I believe that the action to be taken has to be swift with these people. They're no longer your friend, your family, while they're under this influence. They become, the spirit becomes them. You know, the spirit, it takes over them. So important thing is to really separate yourself from anybody who is harboring this spirit. This spirit, what it will do is it will cause chaos. It survives through causing chaos and things, and so that's why you must create distance between yourself and anybody under the influence of the spirit, because eventually what you find is, if the people become isolated, then they will not be able to hurt people, and they will not be able to hurt people. So that's why, you know, if you in a workplace, or if the person is around you, then they must be removed from the group. You know, they must be removed from the groups that they're involved in. That is the very most important thing. And luckily, when the person is removed from the group, the main objective is to is to hopefully the person who's under the influence, they must seek for their own deliverance. And as with most illnesses or medical things and psychological things, your awareness of the awareness of the illness, or the awareness, or your acknowledgement is always the first step. These people are under a hostage. They're under manipulation of the spirit. So eventually, they once they are isolated. In other words, once they're no longer once they're no longer entitled to hurting people, they will reflect inside themselves and then realize that everything around them is no longer available. The only way is to remove the spirit, have the spirit removed, but they must be the most willing. They must be the ones to take the steps and seek deliverance, because deliverance is possible. You can do deliverance through self-deliverance, through prayer. You can do deliverance through abstaining certain things that will attract the spirit even more, such as addictions, self-harm, anything like any of those attachments which attracts the spirits. Refrain and fast from those, and then seek deliverance, self-deliverance, and then after that you can ask for a minister to actually deliver and cast the spirit out. Again, I won't make this video too long, because aside from the angle of the camera angle, most of the things that I really did want to share with you about my own currently experience, and also just things that I have noticed and I would hear and wanted to share with you, is between the two videos. In due time, I would like to send warm wishes for people that are viewing these videos, and just to say that pardon me. Before I end the video, is to say that if you have these people around you, is a clear indication that you have a calling, because a good indicator is that you have a lot of trials, a lot of interference. When you have a lot of interference, you do have to you ask yourself, possibly why? For what reason is this? And then you find that the reason is that it's to stop you from moving forward, because you have a important objective. And when you have an important objective, this objective is ordained by God for you to carry out, because the purpose has not been revealed fully yet. However, God knows best, so he entrusts you to endure the challenges, and that's why we have to remember that although we're going through so much, we also have been trusted to overcome these challenges, and we do have help. You know, we do have we do have God's help at hand for us. We do have the help and the guidance from God directly, because these are also things that the Jezebel spirit does not want you to know. He doesn't. The spirit does not want you to know your purpose. Does not want you to find out your purpose, and the purpose that God has for you is yet to be fully disclosed, usually until a certain point, until you reach a certain point. But the spirit of Jezebel, it knows that you have some sort of purpose, which is which will be very valuable to people in the future. So you are under protection when you're going through these trials, when you're going through these buildings of character, of faith, and continue to believe that, and also continue to believe, because what is ahead and what is not clear is a divine plan. There is a greater plan ahead, and those obstacles do not want you to reach those points, and does not want you to be able to get to that point. But that point is always drawing closer and closer as you battle through the trials. Anyway, this topic was a follow-up to the Jezebel spirit topic, and in the near future, I would like to, as I expand with the knowledge, I would like to expand on this topic to help those who are in the same, who are going through similar experiences. I would like to share my experience on such topics. Until then, God bless.